welcome to our CityRise podcast. It's great to have Barbara here with Creative Dreams that we've related to actually for several years with this the ministry not too far from our Missouri City campus. It's great to have you with us, Barbara. I always start out just general. Tell us about yourself, your family, and kind of an overview about Creative Dreams.
Well, I am a realtor professionally.
All right.
And I served as a board member and a volunteer with Creative Dreams. The founder, Jackie Stauffer, was my tennis partner, so I'm a tennis player. And I saw her commitment and her passion for Creative Dreams. And when she was ready to retire, she asked if I would step in as interim director. And so I did, and that was 3 years ago. So, but I'm married. I have 2 sons. My husband also has 2 sons, and we have 3 grandchildren.
All right. Okay. Long time Houston or this part of the world?
I am originally from Florida, but I have lived in Texas now for over, almost 30 years.
Okay.
So.
All right. And I've met Jackie and know some of the story, but give us the brief. How long has this existed and kind of what was the original vision behind it?
So Jackie grew up in a difficult family situation.
Right.
When she was young, her mother cleaned a dance studio to offer Jackie the opportunity to have dance lessons. Right. And so from a very early age, the arts were very important to Jackie. She wasn't able to participate because of the financial situation, but she met her husband, Tim, who was an oil and gas person. They spent some time in Russia. And while she was in Russia, she met a woman named Maria who had a program for orphans. Wow. And at that program, they did art. They prepared meals for the students. And so when Jackie returned to the U.S., she wanted to start a similar program than what Maria had. Right. It didn't quite morph into that. Not as many orphans here as there were there. Right. So she started Creative Dreams. She incorporated in 2005 and began programming in 2006. Okay. Started out in a strip mall in Missouri City, and now we exist across from Stafford High School, the municipal district there. We're on Staffordshire Road. We have a beautiful facility where the kids come after school. Right.
Yeah, I've been in there. And I know you offer different artistic, but sports. Tell us kind of the range of the programs there.
We do everything. Well, first of all, let me just say that, one of the things that Jackie discovered when she started the programming was that there were some basic needs that a lot of these kids needed. Right. So in addition to programming with arts, we also feed the students.
Right.
Every night. We're an after-school program. We serve middle and high school students. Our goal is to utilize the arts to help students discover their God-given potential with programming that helps their mind, body, and spirit. So we do music. We sometimes do dance, theater, singing. We do sports. Right. We've been fortunate to forge a relationship with Rice University. So sometimes their students come in and play with the kids. So play is an important part. We offer a safe place for kids to play. Sure. Homework, mentorship when possible. So the whole gamut.
Sure. And I remember hearing that y'all have had connection with foster families and foster children. Is that an intentional part, or is that just something that resulted as kids came to you?
It is intentional. At the moment, we don't have any foster youth, but for many years we had a family that had as up to 5 foster students at a time that would bring them every day to Creative Dreams. We want to serve foster students. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is getting students to our campus. The family that I just spoke of was. Now I know that they were not the norm because it was a mom who was able to stay home. Right. And most foster kids live in families where both parents work. Right. So it's not always easy to get the students to us, but we welcome them with open arms. We find them to be great students.
Sure. So how do students sign up?
Well, they just need to come see us. When we serve at-risk and foster youth, we do not qualify students. We don't ask for financial information. If a student has a desire to be where we are, we would
Right.
we welcome them.
Yeah.
Clearly, because we're across the street from Stafford High School, we get many students from over there.
Mhm.
We also serve students that go to Marshall High School and
Okay.
Dulles High School in Fort Bend.
Sure. Are there age brackets?
Middle and high school.
Okay. So basically teenagers.
Correct.
Okay. So I guess they age out at 18 or?
They do.
Okay.
They do age out at 18. One of the things I love about Creative Dreams is seeing the kids who like to hang around, who come back,
Sure.
who want to volunteer.
Yeah.
We've been fortunate that our most recent seniors are attending college.
Good.
We have a student director, Chelsea, who started our program, I believe, as a freshman. She was with us all 4 years. She's going to school locally, so she's serving as our student director at
Okay.
Creative Dreams now.
Yeah. Well, neat. As far as you mentioned music arts, do students actually learn to play an instrument, to learn a skill or?
We have 3 dedicated rooms for music. One is our guitar room, one is a piano room, and one is a drum room.
All right.
I believe we currently have a guitar teacher. We definitely have a piano teacher. Don't have a drum teacher at the point. We're always looking for musicians to
Okay.
help the students with that. We were also fortunate to receive some instruments from another organization called Faith to Form. They gifted us with some flutes, with some more guitars, I think a violin.
Wow.
When we can, we love to provide students with instruments that they could use
Sure.
at school.
Okay. So obviously we have ministries listening, pastors, church leaders. And so volunteers could come if they have a skill, whether it's art or music.
Absolutely.
What-
We would welcome that.
Yeah. What other types of volunteers? Are there any others that could step in and help
Well,
you guys?
our kids love theater.
Okay.
Anybody that is skilled in theatrics, the kids enjoy that very much.
Sure.
And they enjoy dance. It's not, a lot of it depends on the group of kids you have at the time.
Of course. Yeah.
Sometimes they're big dancers, other times they're not. I think in general, if they're able to learn a dance that is, something that teenagers would like.
Sure.
We're not going to ballroom dance.
Right,
we're
not
not
the
going to, we're not
waltz.
going to do anything like
Okay.
that. Hip hop, anything contemporary, they do enjoy that as well. They always love music. So singing, whether it's an instrument or not, but also, we have a basketball court. The kids love to play basketball. We play volleyball.
Yeah.
We even have a setup to play a little pickleball if the kids want to do that. So
Okay.
anything we like to try to keep them. We do have we have a workout room upstairs on our second level. Unfortunately, it's not air conditioned, so we can only utilize that space when it's bearable up
Right.
there. But we have quite an array of equipment. So anybody who is interested in working with the kids to develop training techniques,
Okay.
we have equipment for that as well.
Yeah. Now, are there events a church could sponsor? Do you have any kind of day camp or fall festival or party
So
type?
we are getting
Yeah.
ready to plan our spring fundraiser, but once a month we do something called Fun Fridays.
Okay.
We have other partners come in and provide a meal for the kids, pizza, usually ice cream. And typically on that day of the month, we celebrate any birthdays that are occurring that month. So we love to partner with churches if they want to come in and do that and play with the kids. And just, it's more of a time of fellowship than programming that evening.
Okay. And I think you mentioned fundraising. Obviously, you're supported by gifts, donations. How can our listeners help in that area?
www.creativedoc.org.
Okay.
We are always in need of funds, and like any nonprofit, that's where a lot of time and effort is spent to keep keep us in business. We do have some tenants that help us with our building, but most of our support comes from individuals, some grants, and in church partners.
So if a partner church were to come in, would there be expectations, for example, if they bring a group of 3 or 4, like for background checks, for any of those type steps?
Regular volunteers definitely have background
Okay.
checks. We
Yeah.
want to have them, we want to make sure that they're vetted clearly,
Sure.
just for everyone's protection.
Right. Yeah. And you mentioned a young lady a moment ago who's been 3 or 4 years. Of course, our youth pastor at our campus talks often about how influential Creative Dreams was for him as a young teenager. I would love to hear another story, say success story. I don't mean someone who went on to be a scientist necessarily, but you've seen lives changed, and our hearers always love to hear those stories. If you can think of a young man or a young lady who may have been through the program 3 or 4 years,
Absolutely.
and you saw a 180 turnaround.
So, of course, I've just been there 3 years, so
Right.
there are lots of stories. But in my tenure at Creative Dreams, probably the most powerful story that I like to share is with one of our foster youth.
Mhm.
So the family I mentioned before came religiously to Creative Dreams. And unfortunately, one of the students got into some trouble,
Mm.
some trouble that involved law enforcement.
Wow.
And the foster family decided that that student was no longer a fit for their household. So in recollecting this, in the last couple of days, I was reminded that they took the opportunity to tell this student right before the break at Creative Dreams
Wow.
with his caseworker. And we were pretty rattled.
Yeah.
This is someone who had been part of Creative Dreams for many years. We understood the magnitude of what he had gotten himself into, and we were heartbroken.
Sure.
So at that event that night, he learned what was going to happen. As a result of that, one of our employees at the time, who was our chef at Creative Dreams and had a relationship with this student, I think God put it on her heart to provide a place for him.
Wow.
So within a matter of weeks, she was able to become a foster parent, took him into her home.
Wow.
At this time, the student was a junior. He was not doing well in school. And a year later, he graduated early, made great strides with this new foster parent. And it brought so much joy to our heart that we were able to continue a relationship with the student, because the reality is when you're a foster student and you're 16 or 17 years old and you're not in a foster family, you're probably going to a group home.
Right.
And that doesn't always mean it's somewhere familiar. It could be in another city.
Yeah.
And so this student is actually going to community college now. He's doing very well. And so to be a part of that miracle, as far as we're concerned, was a real joy for us.
Neat. In fact, when you said chef, it reminded me, again, we're just around the corner, and I led a young man to the Lord and actually baptized him. He lived across the street, and he came to be a part-time chef there for 6 or 8 months. This 3 or 4 years ago. And so even that was a ministry to help a young man who was trying to find employment that's there. Again, as a faith-based, how do you integrate faith with the arts and with sports? Do you have total freedom? How do you kind of make that connection with your students?
Well, I think that the best way that I can describe that we show our faith is through our actions.
Sure.
A lot of these kids, we're meeting some basic needs. We're providing a safe place for them. And I'm a Methodist, so we're all about grace.
Sure.
And we really try to exhibit our faith through our actions.
Right.
We typically have many opportunities to offer grace to students.
Right.
Right now, we have a student that is not of a Christian background that is with us. So we never want we want all students to feel welcome.
Right.
We want all students to observe how we show the love of Christ as we interact with them. We have at times had Bible studies, and unfortunately, we found that on those nights that we offered the Bible studies, that the kids just didn't show up. So, at this point in time, we pray before meals. We're not afraid to talk about it.
Right.
But I would say that the biggest thing that we try to do is meet those basic needs of those kids and to love them and help them to feel accepted.
Yeah. All right. Where do you see, or do you see in 3 years, 5 years, you say, if all went well and we experienced the Lord's blessing, this is what I'd love to see with Creative Dreams?
So, a couple of things need to happen. We have some strategic planning that was done recently, and some areas that we would love to see enhanced are with our staffing. I mentioned that we have a student now that is our student director. We would like to be able to hire a new co-director that would be a male. These are all part-time positions. A male that could relate to um, our Hispanic
Okay.
males.
So bilingual?
Yes, somebody that's
preferably?
bilingual
Okay.
would be important to us. That's one thing that needs to happen. I am going to be retiring at the end of the year, so we are
Okay.
also going to be looking for a new executive director. We'd like to raise the funds so that we can pay someone to do that, because I am not equipped. Of course, God equips us, but my gifts do not lie in fundraising,
Right.
and we really need somebody strong to
Sure.
help us with that for us to continue. We recognize that while we serve students as middle and high school students, kids don't magically mature at age 18.
Right.
And our dream would be able to offer a place and training for kids that are beyond that point of age, of
Yeah,
age.
sure.
We have an upstairs area, a beautiful area that could be finished to offer training for kids,
Right.
mentoring, counseling, even just a place for students to come and use the internet.
Right.
We'd like to help them in those gap years,
Right.
that 18 to 25, that there seems to be a real
Sure.
desert
Yeah.
for students.
So you could probably use volunteers to help with resume writing. I mean, these type job
Volunteers,
skills.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And to allow our kids to see other opportunities that are out there, because not all of them are going to choose to go to college, or are they going to
Right.
be able to afford to go to college.
Sure.
When we have foster students, even though the state pays for them to go to college, they don't always have a safety net. Many of them at 18 are no longer with their foster families. Fortunately, the student I mentioned before is still welcome
Yeah.
with that foster mom, during periods of time when school is not going on. But that doesn't happen for a lot of
Sure.
students. So
Yeah.
we know that there's a need for support.
Yeah. Well, I often end by just asking, what should I have asked? Is there something else you would want our hearers to know about Creative Dreams that maybe we hadn't covered?
I think what I would like for people to know is that we are there, that we can serve more students. As I mentioned, transportation's an issue. We could use help getting students from schools to where we are, so that
Sure.
we could serve more students. We know that the arts are important in helping students broaden their perspective of the world.
Sure.
God is very creative.
Yes.
He's provided a beautiful place for us, and He likes creativity. And we just want to be able to be a place where students can explore things that they wouldn't really have the opportunity to explore if we weren't there.
Yeah.
So we love our kids. We love serving them, and we love the families that of the students that are with us. And one thing that I would like to mention that we didn't talk about before is, what we do. At Thanksgiving and Christmas time, we invite our families in. We fellowship with them. We provide a nice Christmas for not only for our students but for their siblings.
Right.
And so many of our families are very appreciative of that.
Yeah.
These are tough times for some people.
Sure.
So we love being able to find sponsors to love on these kids during the holidays, so that they can experience God's love.
Give us the website again, how people can find you.
Okay, it's www.creativedoc.org.
All right. All right. So if you're listening, maybe some of you haven't picked up an instrument in a few years, but you could teach basic flute or drums or maybe theatrical arts. And sometimes the Lord has gifted the body of Christ to be more active in blessing the children that are in our community. So if you haven't checked it out, go to the website for Creative Dreams And again, thank you for joining us on our CityRise podcast, and God bless.